David, good to see you. So what factors are driving the stronger than expected job growth in certain sectors like healthcare, retail, while others like manufacturing are losing jobs?
Well, this is just a part of the economy right now and sort of where we are. As far as healthcare goes, it seems like there's a lot of people that deferred getting some healthcare done during COVID. And then there just also seems to be just a lot of extra stuff that's going on right now. I mean, I personally dealt with a respiratory thing for a couple of months. So I think a lot of people today are in that job hunt and finding opportunities in some of those spaces like healthcare because of an aging society, et cetera. But I think that we are going to get back to those manufacturing jobs here as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 2.0 is implemented, et cetera. Yeah. And I think that we're going to see our economy reshape.
Good. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But I was reading your notes. Sure. You mentioned the market's selling off despite strong job numbers. What's going on?
Right. So basically what's happening right now is that, last year, no one had a good thesis about what was going on in the world relative to the political environment, right? Just two very different outcomes. And so Powell was ultimately touted as, hey, this guy's in control. I've obviously been critical of him, and I think that it's showing up right now. The point of this is that right now, when we look at, hey, good reports like this, the market would rally last year because, of course, we're going to avoid a recession. If we had bad reports, hey, guess what? He's going to do a pivot, no big deal. If we had neutral reports, no problem, everything's on track. Well, the market rallied. Now we're seeing that inflation is actually here. And I like to think about it as sort of like the embers of a fire. Even though they can burn down and may seem pretty cool at some point in time, doesn't necessarily mean that something's out. We get a nice headwind in here and some good growth. Ultimately, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 2.0, some of these pro-growth policies, I think are really igniting a lot of this. And that's why we're seeing the 10-year going up. We're seeing 8% right now on mortgages. And the Fed has, in my opinion, lost control, which is why the market's recognizing it. Things are beginning to sell off. Credit is coming in at a higher rate, but also the bond market is demanding a higher rate of return for the risk that they're taking. And do remember, bonds have risk in them, and I don't think that they're going to probably be the anchors that we were hopeful for them to be if some of the deterioration occurs as I'm seeing.
Okay, so the Fed has lost control is what you say. How might these new numbers then influence what the Fed is going to do the next time they meet on their interest rate decision?
Well, this is the thing. So, last year, they were spiking the ball saying, hey, you know what, 6 cuts, inflation's done. Now inflation's definitely here, even though just 3 months ago and 1% in cuts ago, they didn't have it right. So what's going to happen? Well, they're talking about raising rates again. This is what I would refer to as the Arthur Burns mistake that happened and led to the great inflation that we saw in the 70s and 80s. And so it's going to take a Paul Volcker. And let's just be clear, that is not Jerome Powell. He is not someone that's going to raise the Fed funds rate up to 20%, which is what it took to actually stomp out the inflation of what was going on. And so I don't think that we've done it. And so I think it's going to continue to rise.
So looking ahead, how do you think factors like reshoring and possibly extending Trump's tax cuts soon may shape the economy?
So these are the things that are actually going to, get our nation back into this, building. We're going to be manufacturing. We're going to be leading. And so, this guy got the popular vote. This is, one of the most pro-growth moments in our history at a time when we're also even cutting back with the Department of Government Efficiency. At least the conversation of it is even an important one for us to say. I don't remember the last time we were really talking about real government cuts that were actually going to happen. So I'm excited about, what we can do and how we can address some of these material challenges that I think that we've been seeing come up in employment. We've been seeing come up in these things until this election was actually known. And then now we're seeing some of this, this growth as everyone's expecting, new capital deployment, new dollars into the market right now as we've got new direction and potentially lower regulation.
Right. Smart insight, David Stryzewski, CEO of OANN Planning Group. Thank you again for your time, and I'll see you next week in D.C.
Yes, ma'am. Look forward to seeing you there. Take care.
See you then.